Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take a monumental stack of sources, filter out the noise, and deliver the essential insights right to you. Today, we are strapping on the cleats and running the full 90 minutes and maybe some extra time on a true global legend, someone who didn't just play soccer, but really fundamentally change how the world viewed women's sports. Mariel Margaret Mia Hamm.
That is exactly where we need to focus. I mean, when you trace the history of modern women's athletics, especially soccer, Mia Hamm she's the inflection point.
Wow.
Our mission today is to analyze all the source material you've provided, not just to, recite her achievements, but to truly grasp the sheer breadth of her impact. We need to understand how she achieved that dominance, set international records that transcended gender records that stood for nearly 2 decades, and crucially, how she shaped the economic and professional future of women's soccer.
She is arguably the most decorated and influential American athlete of her generation.
No question.
And the headline stats are the perfect place to start because they are, frankly, audacious.
Yeah.
Before we even get into the influence, let's just lay out the hardware.
Right.
We're talking about a 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
Right. Securing those in 96 and 2004.
And a 2-time FIFA Women's World Cup champion, winning that foundational inaugural tournament in 91, and of course the legendary cultural peak of 1999.
And those team accolades are, they're built on an unparalleled individual career. For perspective on her statistical dominance, she famously held the record for the most international goals scored.
By any player.
By any player, male or female. She had 158. She broke that record back in 99 and held the overall global record until 2013.
Okay, let's pause on that for a moment. This is so important. She wasn't just the top women's scorer.
No.
For a period of time, she was the top international scorer on the planet.
The planet, yeah.
That completely transcends the conversation about women's soccer. That puts her in the conversation of all-time great athletes, full stop.
Precisely. And while the goals grab the headlines and, remaining the 3rd highest scorer internationally even today in 2025 is incredible, the sources really emphasize her contribution as a playmaker.
Yeah, the other side of the coin.
She ranks first in U.S. women's national team history for career assists. 144.
144 assists. That tells you she wasn't just a finisher.
Not at all. She was the architect.
She was the complete offensive machine. And if you need any more proof of her global recognition in that era, before social media defined fame, she was named FIFA World Player of the Year.
Back to back, 2001 and 2002. She was a pioneer whose impact stretched from Selma, Alabama, all the way to global pitches.
And that takes us to the truly fascinating part of the narrative.
Yeah.
Those formative years.
It really does, because to appreciate the icon, you have to look at the entirely unexpected beginnings.
Here's where it gets really interesting right off the bat, especially for anyone who thought her path was, inevitable. Mia Hamm was born in Selma, Alabama, March 17, 1972. But the surprising detail is that she was born with a club foot.
Which is just, wow.
Right. She had to wear corrective shoes as a toddler. This detail is often overlooked, but it tells you something profound about the sheer determination that must have fueled her career.
It really does. It speaks to an early, profound physical challenge that she had to overcome before she even started kicking a ball competitively.
Sure.
I mean, think about the implications of that. The physical therapy, the discomfort, just the sheer diligence required to walk normally. This wasn't a talent that came easily. It was a skill forged through early adversity.
You have to think that instills a certain kind of mental fortitude.
Absolutely. The kind that translates directly onto the pitch later on when she's playing through injuries at the Olympics.
That's a powerful connection. And her childhood was defined by movement, which likely also contributed to her adaptability. Her father was a U.S. Air Force pilot, so the family moved frequently.
California, Virginia, all over.
Spending time on various Air Force bases around the world.
And it was that constant relocation, that global exposure, that really set the stage for her career. The pivotal moment wasn't on some, sterile American field. It was while living in Florence, Italy.
Where soccer is a religion.
It's a cultural obsession. The source describes the atmosphere as one where the sport was hugely popular.
And that context is so vital. It wasn't just some niche American sport she stumbled into. She was immersed in the global heart of football culture.
Right. And that exposure led her entire family to get involved, her parents, her siblings. It wasn't just Mia's hobby. It became a family preoccupation, a shared activity during those often transient years.
And that quickly translated into action once they settled back in the States. At age 5, While living in Wichita Falls, Texas, she joined her first organized soccer team.
And you see that family support system immediately. Her father actually coached both Mia and her newly adopted brother, Garrett, in those early days.
And the talent wasn't hidden for long. Her ascent to the national stage was shockingly fast.
That's incredible.
She excelled so quickly that during junior high, she played on the boys' football team.
And not soccer, American football.
American football, yeah. Which just demonstrates that competitive edge, that raw athleticism, and maybe an early understanding of contact and field vision.
That ability to hang with the boys athletically is such a common theme for elite female athletes of that generation. But the biggest jump, she made her debut for the U.S. women's national team in 1987.
At 15 years old.
15.
15. That fact is just startling, and we have to put it in context for you.
Yeah, for context, the U.S. women's national team had only played its first ever international match 2 years earlier in 1985.
So she wasn't joining some established powerhouse program.
No, she was essentially a foundational member, debuting as a teenager, the youngest player ever to play for the team, just as the program was literally defining itself. She spent those initial years just establishing her tenure.
And from that foundational national team experience, she transitioned into what would become one of the greatest dynasties in collegiate sports history.
The North Carolina Tar Heels.
From 1989 through 1993, under the legendary coach Anson Dorrance, who was also her coach on the national team.
The UNC program under Dorrance wasn't just a team, it was a soccer machine designed to produce elite international talent. And their dominance while Hamm was there was, well, it was truly unprecedented.
How unprecedented.
She played 95 games for North Carolina. In her 4 years, they lost exactly one match.
One. That level of sustained dominance is almost impossible to imagine in modern competitive sports. She helped the Tar Heels secure 4 NCAA and women's soccer championships in 5 years.
89, 90, 92, and 93, it was everything. It created a destination for top talent, and it proved that women's college soccer could generate immense interest and sustained winning.
Right. That environment where failure was just not an option, it must have refined her already considerable talent.
It wasn't about winning games, it was about upholding the dynasty's standard.
But the sources highlight a crucial decision she made that shows where her priorities really lay, even in the middle of that collegiate machine. She actually redshirted the entire 1991 season.
That is a critical insight. And it was a decision she made willingly. She put the national team first.
So she dedicated herself fully to preparing for the inaugural FIFA Women's World Cup,
which was happening later that year. This shows immense commitment. I mean, she effectively sacrificed what would have been another likely NCAA title run for the sake of the international game. It cemented her dedication to building the USWNT brand.
And when she finally finished her collegiate career, she left behind just staggering, unrivaled statistics that still define the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC.
She graduated holding the ACC records for career goals with 103, assists with 72, and total points with 278. The sheer consistency and statistical volume, it's just unmatched.
And if you want the definitive statement on her collegiate dominance, you can't look past 2003. She and Michael Jordan.
Yes, the Michael Jordan.
Were jointly named the ACC's greatest athletes of the conference's first 50 years.
That places her in such rarefied air. It permanently links her legacy with the biggest names in American sports history. It's a statement that says her collegiate excellence was not relative, it was absolute.
And that collegiate success provided the engine for the next most crucial phase of her career, the international revolution.
Which kicks off with the 1991 inaugural triumph in China. At 19, she was the youngest player on the roster for that first ever FIFA Women's World Cup.
And a tournament that, a lot of people forget was relatively low-key at the time.
It was low-key from a media perspective, sure, but the competition was fierce. And despite her youth, she wasn't just there for development. She contributed significantly right away.
How so?
In the first match against Sweden, a tight 3-2 win, she scored the game-winning goal. She also found the back of the net in the 5-0 rout of Brazil in the group stage.
So the U.S. advanced powerfully through the knockout stages, and the outcome, of course, was history.
Right. The U.S. clinched the first World Cup championship title with a 2-1 win over Norway. And that victory wasn't just a trophy, it was the first international proof point that this young American program was a global force.
Following that initial success, the team looked toward the '95 World Cup in Sweden. The result there was a third-place finish, But this tournament gave us one of those indelible anecdotes that perfectly highlights her versatility.
I know exactly what you're talking about. The moment she put on the gloves.
Wait, an elite striker playing keeper in the World Cup. What does that even tell us about the culture of that team?
It tells us two things. First, the USWNT culture, especially under Dorrance, prioritized utility and doing anything for the win. And second, it highlights Hamm's complete trust in her own athleticism. During the group stage match against Denmark, the keeper, Branna Skuri, got a red card. She was sent off.
So they're a player down and have no keeper.
Exactly. And Hamm just steps into the net. She played goalkeeper for a few precious minutes until the coach could get an official substitution in. She basically said, "I got this." That's just astonishing self-belief.
Following that World Cup, the focus shifted rapidly to the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, which turned out to be the real turning point for women's soccer as a marketable sport in America.
This was the first ever Olympic tournament to include women's soccer, and Hamm's role was absolutely crucial, but it came at a high physical price.
How so?
The source material really emphasizes her perseverance. She played through foot and groin injuries, suffered both during training and during a match against Sweden. The training staff was constantly managing her load, but she just refused to be sidelined.
And the result was that crucial victory. The U.S. defeated China 2-1 for the gold medal.
But the truly staggering fact here, the one that underscores the revolutionary nature of that '96 tournament, is the audience impact. This is where the world changed for the program.
Absolutely. The final was played in Athens, Georgia, in front of 76,481 fans.
Think about that number. At the time, that was not just the largest crowd for a women's soccer event.
No, it was the largest crowd for any soccer event in the history of the Olympics, and the largest crowd ever for a women's sports event in the United States.
That kind of attendance isn't an accident. It signaled loudly and clearly that women's soccer was a major league attraction.
It was a viable source of revenue and worthy of professional investment.
It basically justified the existence of a professional league down the road. It proved the market was there. And building on that Olympic wave, the team set the stage for the 1999 peak with a strong run in '98. It sounds like she really hit her statistical zenith that year.
She certainly did. Her highest annual international goal total came in 1998 with 20 goals. And crucially, she paired that with 20 assists.
Again, that dual threat, the ability to be both the team's best scorer and best provider.
That combination is almost unprecedented for a forward. Most strikers just finish. She mastered both halves of the offensive equation. On September 18, 1998, she scored her 100th international goal.
And she was racking up accolades rapidly. She also led the U.S. to the first ever Goodwill Games gold medal that year, scoring 5 of the team's 7 goals. All of this momentum was pointing toward one single explosive moment in 1999.
And that brings us directly into what we're calling Section 4, the peak of stardom.
The year 1999 cemented her place as a global icon, largely kicked off by that monumental achievement, breaking the all-time international goal record.
For both men and women.
Right. On May 22, 1999, just before the World Cup frenzy began, Hamm scored her 108th goal in a game against Brazil. She officially eclipsed the record and took the global international goal record, period.
This record-breaking performance served as the perfect prelude for the '99 FIFA Women's World Cup, hosted on home soil. And that tournament wasn't just successful, it was a societal event.
And Hamm's performance in the group stage ensured the team's smooth path forward. She scored her 110th goal against Denmark, provided an assist. Against Nigeria, she was all over the score sheet.
Right. And for the final group stage match against North Korea, she and several other key players were strategically rested.
Which speaks to the confidence the team had. And we have to note this critical detail. The sources confirm this was the first World Cup match Hamm had missed in her entire career.
She had been an ever-present force up until that point. But of course, the enduring image of the '99 World Cup is the final itself, that electric, unifying event.
The famous final against China at the Rose Bowl, decided by that dramatic penalty shootout. The victory was immense, but the crowd, the attendance, was historic.
More than 90,000 people filling the stadium.
That number is jaw-dropping. It shattered the '96 Olympic final crowd and, for context, held the record for the most attended women's sports event worldwide until 2014.
It showed the U.S. could host a single sport event for women that rivaled the biggest men's events globally.
The viewership was equally groundbreaking. The TV broadcast set a record for the largest U.S. television audience for a soccer match, men's or women's, with nearly 18 million viewers.
It made household names out of the entire squad. They went from niche athletic heroes to mainstream cultural icons overnight.
But tucked into the sources is this stark, almost unbelievable reminder of the human cost of that intensity.
Yeah, this part is wild.
Immediately after the final, Hamm, who had played 120 grueling minutes in intense heat, collapsed in the locker room from severe dehydration.
That detail is absolutely critical to understanding the level of exertion these athletes undertook. She needed an IV drip with 3 liters of fluids just to stabilize her.
It pulls the lens back from the massive celebrations and shows the extreme physical demands and sacrifices required at that elite level. It wasn't just a win, it was a survival test.
And her leadership and performance there solidified her status as a true icon, leading to immediate post-tournament fame. She was everywhere.
And following that cultural explosion, the critical next step was translating that national fervor into a sustainable professional structure.
Which leads us to the founding of the Women's United Soccer Association, or WUSA.
Hamm was undeniably the face and a founding player of this first major professional women's soccer league in the U.S., which ran from 2001 to 2003.
It was a groundbreaking, if ultimately short-lived, effort.
Her star power was fundamental to the WUSA's marketing. The sources highlight her unparalleled commercial appeal. In a 2001 poll of ad execs, she was voted the most appealing female athlete.
And it wasn't even close.
No, she got almost twice as many votes as the runner-up, Anna Kournikova. That kind of marketability was absolutely essential for launching a sports league from scratch.
She was allocated to the Washington Freedom, and we see those dual skills reflected in her club performance there as well. In 2003, she led the team in assists and was second in goals.
And she capped her short club career with a professional championship. She finished as a WUSA Founders Cup champion in 2003. And the league, though it only survived 3 seasons, it began that difficult, essential process of professionalizing the sport here.
An effort she spearheaded through her name recognition and on-field excellence. But it's important to remember this was all happening concurrently with her final years on the international stage. So let's transition now to her final acts.
Retirement and final Olympic glory. She made a significant appearance at the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
And continued her record-breaking tear there. After securing solid group stage wins, the U.S. advanced to the semifinals against Brazil.
And Hamm scored the game-winning goal, marking her 127th international goal and setting yet another new global record at that specific moment.
Despite that huge achievement, the team earned the silver medal after a tough overtime defeat by Norway in the final. But her final World Cup appearance was still ahead.
Right. The 2003 World Cup, which was unexpectedly moved to the U.S. due to the SARS outbreak, this became her 4th and final World Cup.
And she was still invaluable, especially as a playmaker. In the opening win over Sweden, she contributed 3 assists. Then against Nigeria, she scored twice while assisting another goal.
Her ability to transition from scorer to distributor never wavered. And after a tough loss to Germany in the semis, the U.S. ultimately finished 3rd. A good result, but not the gold they wanted.
Her true farewell, the perfect ending, came the following year at the 2004 Athens Olympics. She set her final international goal record, that landmark 158th goal, right before the Games.
And that goal was the culmination of a staggering 17-year international career, 276 caps. That consistency, that endurance, is just a testament to her athletic preparation.
It truly was a storybook ending. The U.S. defeated Brazil 2-1 in overtime to secure her 2nd Olympic gold medal.
And the high esteem in which she was held by her peers is clear in the final honor of the Games. She was selected by her fellow Olympians to carry the American flag at the closing ceremony.
That says so much about her leadership and her character.
And that gold medal match also marked the last Olympic appearance for a foundational generation of American soccer legends, the 5 remaining players from the original '91 World Cup team.
The Fab Five: Hamm, Julie Foudy, Joy Fawcett, Brandi Chastain, and Christine Lilly. A generational passing of the torch.
She had announced her retirement earlier that year, effective after Athens, retiring at the age of 32, concluding her career with those phenomenal records: 158 goals, 144 assists.
So now that we've chronicled the journey, we have to really analyze her unique style of play, her cultural footprint, and her lasting influence. This is where we understand how she did it.
Right. If we synthesize the sources' descriptions of her play, she was clearly an athletic, dynamic, and technically gifted striker. But the analysis points out she possessed a rare combination of elite physical and technical attributes.
So how would you summarize her key attributes for someone who didn't get to watch her play regularly? What made her stand out?
She was renowned for world-class speed, exceptional close control skill, precision footwork, incredible endurance, and consistency. But critically, she wasn't just a physical phenomenon, she was that dual threat.
Meaning she could score, but also set others up. How did she master both roles so effectively?
Exactly. She was a prolific goal scorer, known for a powerful and accurate strike. But she was equally defined by her creativity and hard work as a forward. That record of 144 career assists isn't a footnote.
No, it's a headline.
It's a headline. It demonstrates she was the team's primary orchestrator in the attacking third, a role often reserved for midfielders, not forwards. She had exceptional vision and passing accuracy, which made her impossible to defend.
So if you focus too much on stopping her shot,
She'd slip a perfect ball to a teammate for an easy goal.
beyond the technical analysis, we have to talk about her cultural impact. She was a commercial trailblazer. She was rightly called the most marketable female athlete of her generation.
And that visibility was earned through performance, but it was capitalized on through savvy marketing. She secured major endorsement deals with industry giants: Gatorade, Nike, Pepsi, PowerBar.
The list goes on. This level of commercial engagement and compensation was groundbreaking for a female soccer player. She set a new standard.
And the iconic moment in popular culture, the one that cemented her mainstream acceptance, was that Gatorade commercial in 1999, co-starring with Michael Jordan.
I remember that commercial so well.
It was a masterpiece of marketing and messaging. It featured her and Jordan playfully competing in a variety of sports: basketball, golf, running.
All set to the tune of, anything you can do, I can do better.
And it explicitly placed her on the same athletic plane as the biggest sports star in the world.
And if you recall, it didn't end with Jordan winning. It ended with Hamm throwing Jordan to the ground in a judo match. It was a huge symbolic victory for women's sports visibility.
It told the world she was a star, not just a star for a woman. And her marketability extended into merchandise, even gaming. She was on a Wheaties box. She endorsed the first soccer Barbie.
But the gaming detail is fantastic. In 2000, Mia Hamm Soccer 64 was released for the Nintendo 64.
That video game was a milestone in itself. It was the first video game to feature only female athletes. And her legacy continues today. In 2023, she was named one of the first 5 female icons in EA Sports FC 24.
And how did they rate her against the male icons?
She received a 93 overall rating. That placed her tied for the 4th highest rating among all icons, alongside legends like Ronaldinho and Johan Cruyff.
Wow. So in a modern estimation of all-time global soccer excellence, she belongs right at the very peak.
Exactly.
That's a powerful assessment. And finally, let's look at her influence through philanthropy and modern business ventures, which continue today.
Her philanthropy is deeply personal. In 1999, she established the Mia Hamm Foundation following the death of her adopted brother, Garrett, in 1997 from aplastic anemia.
Right, and the foundation is dedicated to promoting awareness and raising funds for families needing bone marrow or cord blood transplants. That's the first part of the mission.
The second, equally important part, links directly back to her life's work: empowering women through sport. The foundation provides funding and resources to athletic programs for young girls.
Post-playing, she transitioned into mentorship and business. She became an author, served on the board of directors for the Italian club AS Roma, and is a global ambassador for FC Barcelona.
But what's truly remarkable, and brings her story full circle, is her return to ownership in the American Professional League structure. She's a co-owner of the Major League Soccer team Los Angeles FC.
Who won the MLS Cup in 2022.
Right. And, perhaps more poignantly, she's also a co-owner of the National Women's Soccer League team Angel City FC. She is actively ensuring the future success and stability of the game she helped build.
That transition from player to executive and owner is the final, definitive statement of her commitment to institutionalizing the sport's success in the U.S.
It's no longer about just being a star. It's about being a sustainable institution.
Which naturally leads us to our final section, the honors, accolades, and final takeaways.
Yeah.
The honors started early, even before she left UNC, where they retired her number 19 jersey in 1994.
And the personal accolades just cascaded. She was U.S. Soccer Female Athlete of the Year an unprecedented 5 years in a row, from 94 to 98. That sustained domestic recognition perfectly set the stage for 99.
She also won multiple ESPY awards, and her influence quickly became globally recognized.
In 2004, she and Michelle Akers were the only two women and two Americans named to the prestigious FIFA 100 list of the 125 greatest living players, a selection made by Pelé himself.
To be handpicked by Pelé as one of the best 125 players ever is the ultimate compliment.
And her Hall of Fame recognition is just as immense. National Soccer Hall of Fame in 2007. Then, in 2013, she became the first woman ever inducted into the World Football Hall of Fame in Mexico.
And her stature transcended sports entirely. In 2021, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame alongside figures like Michelle Obama. She went from sports icon to cultural icon.
Her legacy is just staggering. She didn't just play soccer. She changed the expectations for what a female athlete could achieve, demand, and earn. She essentially wrote the blueprint for the modern female sports superstar.
I think we have to recall that comparison with Michael Jordan in the Gatorade commercial one last time. Being routinely compared favorably to male sports stars demonstrates that her excellence was understood on a singular, universal level.
She proved that athletic dominance, regardless of gender, could be marketable, profitable, and culturally significant. She made women's soccer necessary.
Absolutely. So, as we conclude this deep dive, we return to the context of professionalization, that long journey from 1999 to today. We discussed her foundational role in the WUSA.
The first pro league, which struggled severely and folded in 2003.
Right. And now today, she's a co-owner of Angel City FC, a successful NWSL franchise with massive institutional support and a sustainable business model.
This contrast raises an important question for you, the listener, to mull over. The WUSA paved the way, but it failed commercially. Angel City FC is thriving now. So considering the financial and structural struggles of the WUSA and the personal sacrifice Mia Hamm made to launch that initial venture, how much did her early efforts, her marketability, and her unwavering iconic status in that first league ultimately provide the essential market validation and cultural precedent that paved the way for successful, modern athlete-led ownership models like Angel City FC?
In other words,
Did the WUSA have to fail so the NWSL could succeed, finally ensuring a lasting professional structure for future generations?
a question worth considering as the league continues to grow and define itself globally. Thank you for diving deep with us on the remarkable, pioneering career of Mia Hamm. We'll see you next time.